What's good, everybody? This is Y and Z, a conversation between the generations. Generation Y, represented by yours truly. The name is Jay Clark. I am a millennial. My other half, the one yawning over there because he don't know no better, represents Gen Z.
It's,
Zajan.
it's just I get tired of the same old. We're the best millennials. Hoop de whoop de boo.
Call consistency, sir. Call
We're
consistency.
sick of it. We're sick because this mission it's pretty boring if you ask me.
Well, sometimes.
But I will say, and I'll kick us off right quick for what we're going to be talking about today. I
Okay.
will say,
Take.
for all that millennials claim, there is one piece of gold
Well, there's
that
more than
comes.
one. There's more than one, sir. There's
Yeah,
more.
no, no. The one we're talking about today
Okay.
is gold, and it didn't even try to be.
That's the
And
best part. That's the best part.
that is a goofy movie.
We getting into all things Goofy movie today because Disney Plus just released a documentary about the making of a film called Not Just a Goof. We both checked it out. Whoo, that was an
Bro,
enjoyable watch. So we're gonna go through all things a Goofy movie today, simply because, yep, it's hot outside. The world is burning and falling apart, but we're gonna close the
calm it down.
blinds and just enjoy some of this good nostalgia hit right there, right in the vein. So, yes, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm curious. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. As a Gen Z person, and this movie was released in the before times because y'all don't believe the world existed before the year
Be for
2001.
real.
And so, yes, the Goofy movie dropped in 1995. Gen Z, what are your thoughts about it before I impart these millennial truths on the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, by the time, because I wasn't born until '02, Gen Z doesn't start until what, 96, 97?
96 ish. It can go
Yeah.
anywhere from like 94
So,
to
like,
97, but yeah, around there.
most of us, most Gen Zers, if we just being real,
2000 on. Post 9/11.
right, right.
That is who you are.
So, most of our encounters with a goofy movie was a VHS tape, was a DVD, and it was just something that was already there. And then it's just like, oh, okay, let's watch this. What is this? Like, we've seen this character before. He has his own movie. Let's watch it. And I'm like, whoa. It's kind of like what Cleo said on there. He was like, for the first time, I see somebody on the screen, and while they're not humans being me, this feels like me.
Put a pin on that because that's huge. But I will come back to that. Put a pin on that. Put a pin on that. We won't get into that first because
Oh,
that's huge. That's a. I know where you're going with that. We'll circle back. We'll circle back. But yes, you are.
but yeah, just from like a surface level, I'm like, oh, this movie is lit. And then, if I'm not mistaken, when did an extremely goofy movie
We don't talk about
comes
that.
out?
We don't talk about that.
We don't.
No. See,
I'm a-
because this is the world that you Gen Z don't really know, where that first initial movie is the thing. That made for TV sequel is not.
I still kind of like an extremely goofy movie.
I mean, you're Gen Z. You can have those bad tastes. It's okay.
I kind of like because I'm gonna tell you why, the most part of why I like it though, because I watched both in tandem
Which is fine. That was available to you again, being
to
born when you
watch
were
both
born,
back to
to
back like
watch
that.
both.
Right, right, right.
Extremely Goofy movie was released in 2000. Again, direct to VHS. Y'all don't know nothing about that life, that world, that direct to VHS world.
Think about that.
You don't really
Some of the
know
best
about that.
movies I've watched were direct to VHS or direct to DVD.
I mean, we question your tastes as a generation. We know. I mean, that's why we have the overfluence of streaming content right now. It's because y'all just don't really know good stuff. Y'all
Nah,
just
that
need a lot of
direct
stuff.
that direct to DVD or direct to VHS was pretty lit. That was a great time period for certain movies.
Tell me you're Gen Z without telling me you're Gen Z. Anywho, so Goofy movie, the classic. let's jump into that point first. Let's circle back to what you brought up. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
because low key, which has been joked upon, because literally that the episode of Atlanta, Goofy is a black as hell character. This movie was black as hell, and it was interesting watching the documentary because the documentary touched on it. They waited on till the end to specifically touch on it bluntly, like on the head. But throughout the
Right.
movie, when they're talking about it, they're talking, or the director, he's like, "Yeah, I just want to make a contemporary movie, contemporary. What's going on now?" And so the doc does a great job of setting this up of what time we're in. We're talking,
Oh no, seriously.
we are in the late '80s, early '90s, in the development of this film. So you're talking start of the Disney Renaissance, Little Mermaid,
Lion King.
and Goofy movie comes out right after the Lion King. So here you have, here you have the big shining thing. Lion King is killing all the records at the time, and until literally maybe 5 years ago. What is it? Is it Encanto or somebody? It
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
most successful animated film. The sound, you know what the Lion King is. And so then
Right.
you have Goofy movie, which doesn't have the same budget, yada, 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 all those circumstances. But just, yes, this film is black as hell because when you're talking about the early 90s,
This was the exact point I was gonna say. In his head, he was just making a movie adaptable to the times.
yes,
It just so happened that the times were black as hell.
you're coming off, you're in the midst of gangster rap, the end of the New Jack Swing era. You know, you've got Martin in Living Color. Like, this is the beginning of the explosion of the world we live in now, and we're kind of slightly, depending on how things go, kind of maybe coming to an end of urban culture truly becoming a driving force in a way that we had never seen before. Urban culture will always be
Right.
a driver, but 90s and 2000s, it was at a height and at a realm never touched before, in a way that, yes, you have this movie being done by white as hell people, white as hell actors, outside of Tevin Campbell being Powerline. Yeah, and you saw the staff for the most part, pretty white staff, all that. But because they were so focused on making things contemporary, that blackness was just in there because that's just the era that we're in. And it's the same stuff that leads to like Nickelodeon, all that, Keenan and Kel. Like
Right.
it's when you look at the entertainment stuff of the 90s, especially stuff that's being driven by kids, urban culture is literally one of the things, like right under the surface. Oh, that's what's
It's
driving
right
this.
there.
And for this movie to touch on it directly at the end, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't know this was so big in the African American community." I was like, "Thank you."
I'm so glad that they touched on that in the documentary because like the people on there at the end that they kind of clipped in, this felt like what was the first African American movie made by Disney. Granted, we had the Lion King, that's our brothers and sisters back home. But this felt like in the moment, for the moment, what we were experiencing. This could have been a single, you see what I'm saying? All that kind of stuff. So I think I'm glad that they touched on that. I'm gonna tell you another thing. I think I vaguely watched a documentary before about how animations are made, but good lord, that is a whole process back in the day for animation making.
There is an appreciation of the art and arts in general, which this is going to touch on something else that we're not going to dive into today because it's a whole nother discussion for its own time. But it's that foundation of what we see right now with AI and chat GPT and all these things where literally it's like you are literally giving your normal everyday Joe Blows the
The
ability to
ability to
create
do.
something like this where you saw what the effort and knowledge and skill it takes to really truly craft it. Discussion for a whole nother day. But yeah, that whole process of him talking about, yeah, we were animators in France. We're shipping things to Cali. I'm recording VHSs to send to them so they can get my facial expressions and understand where I want the beats in the scene to go or what we're seeing in the story. Like, yeah, that whole
Bruh.
that process
That
to
that
literally
that
think
was wild.
he was separate from the animators the whole time. He never saw them.
Right. And even in this sense, here you are almost done with the movie, and somebody notices one black dot.
And this is this is early 90s. So we not zipping no files and quickly shipping via a
No.
Dropbox or like email or collaborative digital work environments. No, 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 no. We're mailing. We're mailing things across countries here and getting this work done. Yeah.
One black guy.
And one black dot, which he talked about was a saving grace. Because then
No,
they missed
seriously,
their
because and that's another thing, right? I think the beauty of the movie, the way the documentary is set up, you don't really realize it's kind of like you're being taken on the journey of the directors in real time because it's like Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was what was he the head
yeah,
of
yeah, 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 yeah.
he you almost feel like he's the villain of it. You know, he's bringing in stupid ideas. He didn't want Goofy to have the Goofy voice and all of this kind of stuff. So he was like, oh, he's this big wig executive. And then it gets to the part of the documentary where he gets fired, and now you see all of the support for this movie go away.
Yeah, that was a shame because it's kind of like it's a failure at the box office because Jeffrey was, besides the people making the film at Disney, apparently Jeffrey was the only one who really cared about it, and so it didn't get the support that you would expect or that we saw the true theatrical features like Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, Pocahontas, all those get during the time. It didn't get all that. It'd be interesting to see what this movie is, possibly with the right push behind it. Because yes, it is a cult classic. This Goofy movie is the definition of a cult classic. We're not sitting here talking about it's a mainstream classic. No, 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 no. It is a cult classic because it's one of those things that kind of lived under the radar, which unfortunately is something your generation doesn't get to experience because we're aware of everything at every point at every time. And like literally, a Goofy movie today is dropped. It's forgettable, or it may have a couple days and then you're on to the next thing, and you're not festering like what you talked about and what many people in the documentary talked about. The beauty was, yeah, this became a cult classic because it was only in the theaters for a short run, didn't do what it wanted to do, gets released early on VHS, and during the
Yeah.
90s, you know what the whole thing with the Disney Vault and how they released things were. And it got to TV faster because, as they explained, the rights to this movie were cheaper than The Lion King. So it's
Yes.
that repetition. It's that always seeing it. It's that always being there. It's that it being one of the few options that you have, which put it in this position. You're None of your stuff is under like post 2010. There's really nothing post 2010 which will ever reach this kind of level simply because with the technology shift, you're not going to get the chance because there's always something new for you to watch. Versus back then, it was like,
Right.
yeah, this was comfort food, and I'm going to keep coming to it over and over and over again, outside the fact that this is all that I had to come back to.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for that definition cult classic to ever be developed in any form of culture going forward. It would literally take a degradation of technology in order for us to start developing cult classics again. If we're just being honest.
Well, we know what the cult is. Put it this way: until recently, with things like YouTube and people being able to post their own content, you don't know this shared similar experience. It's like, okay, it makes me think of this. I remember one of the early days of Twitter. So this is, Twitter's 09 starting to blow up. So this got to be like 2010, 2011, maybe Scandal was on the air. And so you know what the history of Scandal, what Twitter is. Scandal is the show that turned Twitter into this real-time thing we're all interacting. Side point. Anyways, I remember one night, funny enough, it's The Lion King. The Lion King is airing on like ABC Family or free, whatever Freeform is at that time. And this is The Lion King. And understanding the massive hit that Lion King was in 94. Yes, one of the biggest movies all time. You 90s kids, you know what it is. Parents' Toys. We all know that's a classic.
We know the Lion King.
That movie there was a reawakening with that movie on that night because we're all sitting there on Twitter tweeting about this movie. And as mainstream as it was, as popular as it was, understanding, yeah, wow, we all had the same experience. Jokes, like, that was one of the early days I remember that happening on Twitter. Nowadays, yeah, you know that instantly. You know who you have a correlation with. Versus, yes, even with this movie, yeah, you may be talking with your friends or whatnot, but again, like I said, it's a cult classic. It wasn't in the mainstream, so that means yeah, you're watching it at home, and it's not getting much existence out there. But that singular experience, to then understand that everybody else is having that singular experience later on in his life, is quite the recollection. Versus nowadays, yeah, we all know we know what the
Right.
cult is. You know, we're a small audience that likes this, and it's not mainstream, but this small audience is enough because we're all on Twitter. But you don't get that chance for that cult to really kind of truly develop. And I think get
No.
to that appreciation stat to where, like with the Lion King, one of the beauties of that night was, wow, we all took this in the same way, experienced it, had some similar things, had, for the most part, you're not going to get that.
Nah. And I'm gonna tell you what was so good watching that documentary. It's like what you said. It's like them all thinking that they were the only ones to have that experience.
Yeah.
Right. And even the directors themselves or the people who worked on the film being on an island for years thinking
Decades,
that that movie was a
decades,
failure.
decades. Because you don't easily get that understanding that this is something until the early 2010s. So you're talking, it's 20 years of thinking this is just some flop.
Right. That's wild to think. 20 years of thinking that it's a flop and it has been developed like what you said, it's developed into a cult classic.
The fact that they even reference it in the documentary, especially taking it back to the whole "this is the blackest movie" thing, that I had to go back and watch because it's been a couple of years since I seen it. But that Atlanta episode where they did the fake doc about was it a goof by the door, which is a spoof off a spook by
Right,
the door.
right, right.
So many levels there, but yeah, so like that ability, like that's a great level of culture, and yeah, surprisingly to think that a goofy movie is at the heart of it, or it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, this is one of those things that taps you into that kind of culture. Incredible, incredible, and that's why millennials had the best childhood. Let's be honest.
Jeffrey, let me change the subject. It's crazy to think that Jeffrey truly wanted that he wanted Goofy to not have the voice. I couldn't get over that. At first, he just really wanted Goofy to talk about what if Steve Martin.
When I tell you, as a creative, in some of these situations, when you hear some dumb shit like that, and I've heard a lot of dumb shit like that, where it's like, yeah, let's do this. No, no. And I'm glad the director was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna
Oh,
show
and
them
he
how bad of an idea this is, because yes, you
right.
need to see
That
this
was
is
so
terrible.
smart. That's so politics of the director, bro. He understood office politics to the point he was like, I'm gonna give you what you want, and I'm gonna show you how bad it's gonna be.
Sometimes you got to do
I'm
it.
not gonna argue with you. I'm just gonna give you what you want, and I'm gonna let you get to the end point that I want you to be at, which is he needs to sound like Goofy.
That's kind of how black folk are with the state of the world right now in America. Yeah, y'all wanted Trump? Go ahead, enjoy that. We'll see y'all when y'all get smart. But anywho's, one of my favorite parts about this movie is because this movie gives you everything that 90s movie gave you. It's a good story. It's 90 minutes. It's in and out. It's not too long. It has to be 2 hours. No, it's a good standard 90-minute feature film with a banging ass soundtrack, which was also black as hell. That sequence that they talked about, Tevin Campbell and Eye to Eye, or literally they did a real live breakdown of the video. I need
And
somebody to
this is
put
my
that rehearsal
thing.
footage. Somebody need to upload that to YouTube now. I need to
This is
see
my
that real
thing with
life
that.
music video.
The fact that they weren't even like, oh, Tevin Campbell. Yes. No, they were like, it took ways to get to him. They hired the musical director. He thought about, oh, I know this kid that's been working with Prince, but it wasn't like Tevin Campbell was the first start.
No, no,
Literally could have gone a completely different route with that.
dude told you what it was. The one who brought them to Tevin Campbell. When he was like, "Oh, I saw this," and I was like, "Oh, they tapped into cool here." And again, it's that urban element because you look at the clothes,
Yes.
the style. It's like it's all they are tapped into an early '90s cool that only goes one way. And he was like, "Oh, I see where they're going. This is actually something they need Tevin."
And I mean, he talking about, yeah, he came in there and did like 1 to 2 takes.
And Eye to Eye is a banger. That is a
Seven
song
would have been
I've
how
had
old
in
doing eye to eye?
rotation
Seven
since
couldn't
then.
have been over 18, huh?
Tevin?
Yeah, he
No, he
wasn't
was
over 18.
no, because he was. Let's see, it's you will know is early '90s, like '91. He's 12. I think he's 12 around there. So
Jesus.
he's not yet He's maybe 15. He's teenaged. This is Tevin Campbell. Can we talk? This is
Yes.
like this is Tevin Campbell, and this is a song that most people don't talk about with Tevin
Oh no
Campbell.
no no. Okay okay no no no. He was about 19 to 20.
Oh, he was okay, well,
Okay, he
whatever.
was about
Like
19 to 20.
this is a song that, yeah, when you talk Tevin Campbell, people, oh yeah, I'm ready. Can we talk? No, eye to eye.
Let me tell you something. If you ask me, Powerline had a much better career than Tevin Campbell,
No,
but
no,
that's
no, 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 don't be blasphemous now. Don't be blasphemous.
man, please.
You got to be.
Powerline is that guy.
He is that guy, but he's literally just an extension of Tevin. Like them songs could be like our Tevin's because Tevin is singing them, but they could go on Tevin's discography right now. So I wouldn't disrespect the man by saying no. It's literally he is him, he is I am him, yada yada, that kind of stuff. But like, because let's talk about eye to eye. Let's because this song is again reflective of the era because
Yes.
it's got. Allow me not to be PC right here.
Go
The
ahead.
big bone sister who can blow, who back in
Yes.
the day you wouldn't have the face of the record, but you want her on there, which we know is true based off like the dance songs and whatnot. I'm thinking,
Yes.
like you look at them songs, especially in that dance era of that time. It's we gotta love the CCs, not just the CC herself, but a lot of those songs, and they talk about the background singer. Yeah, it's usually some big black girl who they didn't want to put in the front because the whole visual element. It's got that. This is before urban gets super poppy because this is before the death of Tupac and Biggie. So like I say,
Right.
we're not in the Diddy shiny suit era of urban music yet. It's not.
No.
It's becoming accepted, but we're not quite there yet. So this is still leading up to it. So you got some of them New Jack Swing elements. You got them early '90s. Like it's just, and it's a song. The lyrics are about something. It's a love song on a level. It's a word like that's a banger, damn it. And I need that footage released on HD on YouTube now. I need to see that in full because that breakdown during that portion of the doc was fired. Literally, yeah, the side by side of the movie performance, and then you see how they created it with the real actors. And really, they did that one scene of the girls coming behind them. I was like, yo, that's fire.
And when I say it's so to the point when the musical director was like, we're not making songs for a movie, we're making songs. That whole mindset, thank you, sir. Because I think if he would have gone into it being like, oh, we're just making songs for an animated movie, he said, nah, we making bangers up in here.
Again, another reason why '90s was that ish because you got movies with these. Sometimes you had the movie song, and we all understand it. You need to, but then you just had these banger of songs on these film soundtracks, which are just fucking fire. And especially as a kid, like you gotta think, like this is early '90s again. So you've had The Bodyguard, you've had Lion King,
Right.
you've had some of these movies with these iconic soundtracks. The majority of them, outside the Disney ones, are all adult films. So something like a Goofy movie was right in that Disney tradition. Oh yeah, it's a kid-focused film, and we're continuing to give you banging music right along with it. So this was RJ.
And let's also talk about this that we hadn't seen it much before this. We saw it in The Lion King, but this whole coming of age story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That wasn't, if we just being real, especially with animated things, that wasn't
No, it
big.
wasn't. And I didn't realize that. They talked about it. I didn't realize that was so much of a sticking point. But yeah,
Yeah, and then you've never seen on an animated style either. You've never seen the father-son dynamic. Really, if we just being real, you wasn't seeing that really anywhere. Big screen or little screen. Just a movie about a father and a son.
Well, again, trend of the day is the quote unquote, which is one thing my father hated, dumb father on TV. So let's say 95. So you're talking that's Home Improvement. You're talking Simpsons. You're talking Fresh Prince. You're talking Martin. I mean, no, Martin wasn't a father figure. You're talking Rock. You're talking like especially black characters, few and far in between of this nature. And then father figures in general. Yeah, it's that era. You're getting a lot of the aloof father. It's the I don't necessarily like part of it. And so this was a real ass portrayal of a, let's put it bluntly, single dad raising his son because you don't mention Goofy's wife. You don't mention Max's
Nope.
mom. We don't know whether she died, she left, just like that. What? No, this story is about a father and his son. And and as a kid, like even Max to an extent, like I really related to Max because Max has cool edge moments, but then he also has those insecure, almost emo moments. And
Yeah.
so, especially as a kid, it was like, yeah, I want to feel cool. I want to be in the mix. I want to get the girl. But then I'm also worried about these things that I'm true to about myself that I feel that may not be judged as cool in the mainstream. And you get that through some of the characters. And so yeah, it's a great just like this portion of life and just where you are that as we've seen a lot of people have found ways to relate to it. And I said, I know I did. The Goofy movie is just I'm not gonna call it cinema gold out here, but it's just a good standard yet. Just one hitter.
And let's be real here. It stands the test of times. It stands it. Like, if we just being real, though that is one of the most culturally sound movies that no matter when you play it, when you watch it, you're gonna be like, oh, I've been transported back to this time period, and it's culturally sound. It's not culturally offensive.
Mm-mm.
It's not any of that. It's just culturally sound. It's solid. Like you said, it's not gold, but Lord Jesus, it's better than it's better than most of the trash we're getting now.
It's sound. I think that's one of the things again really enjoyed as a '90s kid was you saw that explosion of while there are moments of yeah this stuff PC we should have gone some different ways. One of the beauties about the '90s was seeing that urban culture bubble up to where if you knew, as we see with the Goofy movie, you knew to where you could oh, I know where that's coming from. I'm seeing my stuff on this level that has never quite been there before. And we know the explosion this and other things leads to. And so yeah, seeing that again, and like I mentioned, all that on Nick. You see the music choices on shows. You see the fashion influences. You see how the things from some of your smaller black shows are ending up on bigger shows, a la Living Single and Friends. And so this is just so representative of that time and era. And man, good days, good days. Peach, I know you jealous. I know you like ah.
I'm not too jealous because I'm grateful for it. And I'm gonna speak, truly in the portion of a Gen Zer who, growing up, my parents couldn't afford to take 3, 4 kids to the movies all at once.
Same here.
So
Same
I
here.
was grateful for this era that was launched of let's maybe not think for the big screen. Let's think towards the smaller screen, and we could develop such an audience. And I'm grateful for what a Goofy movie did in the sense of it was planned to do amazing at the big screen, lost support, didn't do as well. Quickly released the DVD, quickly released the VHS, and then it just exploded for the next 20 years.
It shows the thought and care because I think that's one of the things you truly get a
Yes.
sense of from the doc and
Yes.
the people work on is the thought, care, and intentionality that goes into it. And from just the production sense, one of the beauties of the '80s and the '90s was these smaller studios. That's why you
Yes.
have a lot of these one-off projects or these one-off
And
films.
because if I'm not mistaken, he did say that this is more like a television studio that they had to make a big screen
Yeah, this
movie
yeah,
in.
this wasn't Disney feature films. This was like, as he called it, the B Squad. This was can you do quality on this level without some of the resources? And yeah, we see like you don't see risks like that being taken nowadays. You don't see the ability to try to push something in a new direction or even like it's all about no, it's all got to be the same quality, it's all got to be the same level. And I think that kind of tone of monotony kills things a little bit because you don't get
If
this.
we being real, I don't get me wrong, I do appreciate like everyone saying like everything needs to be on the same level. I get that. But sometimes you need an A and a B.
You need
Sometimes you need it
you need to be able to put things on
because
their levels. Yeah,
yes, yes. Because not taking it so like us sitting here talking about a Goofy movie is not taken away from the masterpiece that is The Lion King. We're not taking away from that. But
right.
what we're saying is that even on the B level, a Goofy movie rose suddenly in the back corner from being produced in the B to now it's in the A.
Here we go. I'm gonna bring it home. I'm gonna bring it home. I'm gonna bring it home. The Goofy movie was a movie on the same level, same quality, good story writing. It shows how, with the same intentionality and purpose that you attack a project, even if you don't have the same funds, resources, or access to things that you need, you still find a way to put out that quality that doesn't necessarily reflect your resources. It shows your ability to go beyond your resources and your true mastery, which is essentially what Black people have been doing throughout history, which is why this still remains one of the blackest movies of all time. Because, yeah, it's that ability to take, we're working with less. We're doing something that you don't think, we're applying this, but we still want to put this out here. And that's what Black people have been doing all the time. So, yeah, Goofy movie is one of the blackest movies Disney has ever.
And like we said, for the longest until we got this documentary, we knew it was black from the viewer's perspective. But like you said, the lack of resources, the lack of support that garnered at the end.
The movie done, and they still not try. They just pushing it out because they had to. It was there,
right? Doing something, even this, right? Doing something so off the wall as having, because he said it wasn't done before. The voice actor who plays Goofy, he's going around doing tours trying to get people to watch. That had never been done before. You don't bring the voice actor to the front, it ruins, that sense of kayfabe.
Disney likes the magic, yeah.
Bruh, they took what they had and they ran with it. And I'm grateful to them for doing that.
It is a true cult classic. Days of my childhood. Man, if you've never seen a Goofy movie, one, watch a Goofy movie.
Please.
2, check out the documentary, Not Just a Goof, streaming now on Disney Plus. It is well worth the watch. Like I said, just for the power line sequence alone. Please, I beg, Disney, whoever had that footage and got it into the documentary, please just drop that on YouTube by itself. I want to see that by itself because incredible.
It was crazy them that, you know what, we want these animators to know exactly what we can want. Let's have some dancers come in. We're going to do the whole sequence
again,
not just the whole. They're going to do the whole sequence scene
with intentionality because he's like
Max coming in, falling.
We got the guy who's being goofy. He's adding goofy elements, and we got the shorter guy who's playing Max, and he's like.
I said, you know what? This is something. This is something right here.
That just just stick that right here. That's some feel good, and hopefully you feel good spending a little time with us here today. Thank you. It's Y and Z, conversation between the generations. I represent the Y, the millennials, Jay Clark 787, the real Xavier Lewis. Well, no, Xavier D. Lewis now.
There we go.
Because of you've got they can find you like 5 different ways. Anywho, Gen Z, they're on everything because that's just what they do. Like, share, subscribe. We thank you for any time and attention you've paid us. If you need an escape, a Goofy movie is a good escape. I really can't wait to sit down with my son. He's never seen it. And what was interesting was I'm sitting there watching the doc and I'm like, oh, fudge. I relate to Goofy.
I've never shown my time.
I'm relating to Goofy right now. I see it. Damn it. Full dad mode. Anywho, so I'm seeing that transition. I used to see just, Max. And I was like, oh, crap. I'm the Goofy in this.
I'm Goofy now.
Anywho, you'll be there soon enough. Who knows? Y and Z, like, share, subscribe. Until next time, continue to stay safe out there, people. Drink your water. It's a dumpster fire.
Peace out.